Okay, hello all the crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games. Welcome back to making a bullet hell game in Game Maker Studio 2. I almost called this a tower defense game. Still, because I've introduced so many of those videos now. I would not be surprised if in at least one of the previous bullet hell videos I accidentally called it that in the intro and didn't notice. Anyway, today we're going to be doing everyone's favorite in refactoring. That's going to involve a few things. So in the, for example, create events of pretty much everything in the game, or at least every entity in the game, we're going to be moving some of these variables to the variable definitions window, because that feels like a more appropriate place to define them. I'd also like to do a few other chores, just generally clean up some code that sucks. There's also the matter of the drop odds for pickup loot when you kill an enemy. I'd like to sort this out because this is not my favorite drop calculations, and there's also in a couple various places there's a couple hard-coded magic numbers that I'd like to not have. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to deal with the drop odds. So the way this works now is that when a foe dies, you iterate over the drop table, and you generate a random number between 0 and 100 for every one of those drops, and if that number is less than the assigned odds, then you spawn one of those items. And if you get lucky with the RNG, let's say if you roll all ones, which ordinarily would be a bad thing, but in this case it's a good thing. If you roll all ones and that happens to be less than the drop odds, that means that you could spawn every single power-up in that table, which is not really what I want. If you actually get that lucky, that would be a 5% raise to the 7th power odds, 0.05. Can I raise that to... Hang on. Alright, fine. I'll use my real calculator for this. 0.05 raised to the 7th power is an 8 in 10 to the minus 10 odds of happening, which is, I want to say about 1 in 10 million. Or 8 in 10 million, really. Which is not likely to happen at all, but... in any case, I'd still like a more mathematically appealing way of doing this. Instead, what I'd like is if there are 7 pickups in this drop table and they all have a probability of 5, I'd like it to be so that there's a total probability of 35% of something dropping, and each of these individual things is 1/7 of that. So each of these individual items is a 5% chance. And the way that I think I will do that is by taking this odds, this random number generation, moving it outside the for loop, and then for every item in the for loop, we're going to still say if odds is less than the pickups drop odds, then you're going to instance create depth one of those types, and then after that we'll break. And if you wanted to, I'll back up a moment. If you wanted to just do this, if you wanted to just insert a break after each of the after you instantiate something, that might be good enough, except that also wouldn't be perfect. That might be better than what we had before. Before we had essentially a 0.95 raised to the 7th power chance of nothing happening at all, which was about 70%. So before there was about a 30% chance of something spawning. This might be good enough, but it's still not really what I want it to be. So instead, I will put the odds calculation outside that. That'll generate a random number between 0 and 100. And if the odds are less than the drop table, the item in the drop table's odds of dropping, we will do that. Otherwise, odds minus equal the drop table's odds. And that will allow it so that there is now exactly a 35% chance of something spawning, and each of these items has equal probability of being that thing. And you could argue that that doesn't really matter, but if you're the programmer trying to, for example, implement the drop odds for whatever things, this will be easier to understand at a glance, because the numbers won't be slightly off. And if you want to run through this by hand, let's say that each of these things has a 5% chance of dropping. Let's say you roll an 8. On the first iteration through the loop, 8 is not less than 5, so you don't go inside this if statement. The odds minus equals the the drops odds. So 8 minus equals 5, so you now have 3. 3 is indeed less than 5 on the next turn through the loop, so you're going to instantiate one of those, and then you're going to break out of the loop. So that is a slightly more correct way of calculating odds, at least in my opinion. All right, next I will start moving these all to variable definitions, and this is probably going to be at least a little bit tedious. So I think what I might do is just speed up the video and either make it sound like my voice is on helium or just cut it out completely. At least after the first time I do this. Health max is going to be 4. That can be a real number. Health, this needs to stay. This variable is going to need to stay in the creative. And actually, does it? If I set this to expression, these are evaluated in order, right? So I should be able to just stick that expression in there, right? The score value, so the number of points you get when something kills you, that can be another one. It would be nice if I had a way to do a separator. You know what? Okay, that is just going to create a visible line in this variable definitions window, and that should be enough to serve as a separator. Someday I know I'm going to look at the debugger when this game is running, and I'm going to see that there's a variable that's just a bunch of underscores, and it's going to contain a string that's just a bunch of underscores, and I'm going to wonder why it's there. But that sounds like a problem for future me. Anyway, combat attributes are next. Bullet spread, this is going to default to 10. That's in degrees. Shots per second, it's going to default to 1. That's in shots per second. Shot cooldown is going to be equal to 0. That's going to be seconds. Shot velocity is going to be 4. I believe that is... Boy. That's not delta timed, is it? I feel like that's in pixels per step. Yeah, that's pixels per step. I don't know what to think about that. Is that something I really should be doing? That might be something else I refactor in this video. Anyway. Let's see. You know, I won't do the health equals health max and a variable definition there. I'll just leave the things that aren't expressions that you would want to modify in the room editor, and I'll leave those in the create event. Okay, anything else? Not for you. I now have the slightly tedious task of going through the rest of the foes in the game. Oh, you know what? Is that... Okay, so all those things that I defined in the foe base class, those were actually not inherited from entity, so I didn't just do a bunch of redundant work. Okay. Let's see. Give me a minute. Alright, so that's done. The game should work as before. And I won't test this perhaps as thoroughly as I should. But, why is the player not shooting anything? Oh, I'm shooting myself, aren't I? Hang on, wait. Did I somehow manage to screw up entity player? Friendly should be set equal to true. But entity's default friendly state is false. So why am I effectively shooting myself? Oh. Okay. Because I forgot to remove that from the entity parent definition create events, and that was just overriding whatever value had been set. Okay. So now everything's back to normal. Okay. I was gonna say, why is that being set to false? But no, that was just me being dumb. Okay, so I've gone and added all the relevant entity variables to the variable definitions window, except for whatever reason I did not make these belong to, like, the base class. Is that because, do bullets inherit from... No, bullets don't inherit from entities. Is there a good reason that this should not belong in the base class? I don't know, and honestly, I don't know if I want to touch it right now. So maybe I just won't. Okay, next, let us define some variables for the bullets base class. X speed can be defaulted to 0. Y speed can be defaulted to -6. Damage can be 1. Friendly is false. Ignore is no one. Damage 1. Friendly is a bool, which is false. Friendly is a bool, which is false. Ignore. Okay, so bullets should behave the same way now. Bullets and entities are basically like the universal system. Why do we not have a score value? Did I misspell score? I hope it's not the fact that score is sort of still a built-in variable, although it's sort of gone away and that you can use it as an instance variable. I hope it's not the fact that GameMaker isn't able to resolve something named score in a variable definition. So if I were to just rename to something like point value, would that fix it? And it would still, okay, good. It still has that name in all the other overridden versions. That wouldn't be the weirdest thing. Yeah, that did it. And now we're going to spawn a million of those dialog boxes. That wouldn't be the weirdest thing that I've ever seen GameMaker doing, but it's just one more reason why I would really like it if the default built-ins just kind of stopped existing. Because I do sometimes screw you over in weird ways. So we can get rid of this now. Okay. That was an ordeal. That took admittedly longer than I thought it would for several reasons. Pickups. Do pickups have any built-ins which I would want? Lifespan, X speed, Y speed, and drag. All right. Let me assign these two variable definitions. Actually, you know what? These are like also not configuration settings. These are just... Maybe I won't. Because anything that derives from pickups probably has no business, for example, overriding speed or drag or even lifespan, really, so I won't mess with those. Okay, what else is there? There's a bunch of magic numbers, mostly in this level code, because I think most of the values, the math values that are acted upon in, like, these other things, although I guess, like, the effect durations and whatnot are, those are kind of magic numbery, but a lot of the logic is based off of the variables defined in the create event, shots per second, that kind of thing. So there probably won't be too many magic numbers to eliminate outside of the group underscore level. So let's see. That expression, I'll just put this up here at the top. The score multiplier reduction, that's not exactly something that's being called from multiple places in the code, but I'll put it at the top just to make it easier to find. What else? Score multiplier addition. Can be 0.05 for now. The score multiplier timer can be This can be 2. Or maybe I'll make it like 5 or something. Or maybe 5 is a little high, 3 or something. So that's some magic numbers gone. Let me scan through. Yeah, like I said, all this is either, like, 0 isn't exactly a magic number, so I'm not going to bother with that. 90 is technically a magic number, except I think anybody reading this code will understand that 90 is the up direction on the screen, so I'm not going to worry about it. Shot.damage plus equals self.buff damage value times 4. Is there any reason why, like, the initial value of this wouldn't just be multiplied by... Oh, that's because this is the sub-attack. See, I do have myself a macros file. And I guess I'll just make that 4. Like that. Shot cooldown, sub-attack shot cooldown. This can also be... That can also be a macro. No, don't open the room editor. Like that. And are there any more? No, I'm seeing a bunch of zeros. I'm seeing a bunch of variables. This is generally good. Like depth plus 1, that's just... The actual depth doesn't matter as long as the depth value ends up like behind the player. Don't care about that. A lot of these other things I don't really care about. Initial values can stay where they are. What is this? The bullets create event. Apply effect. This is a little bit. I can say default effects duration. I can replace all the... Default effect duration is going to be, what did I have it? 2 seconds? Shot velocities I don't really care about. I probably shouldn't I? Like default bullet velocity. I'm also considering that instead of having these be single values, I could make them like settings in a menu. So if you want to have, I don't know, enemy bullets shoot at you faster in hard mode or something like that, that could be a setting. I'll make this... That can be 6. I do want that to be like delta timey later. Or fake delta timey or whatever. I do believe that is assigned to later. Should I say default? Some enemies might shoot at you faster. This is that's recursive bullets. And everything else is being set to a value. Okay. So that's probably it. The apply effect method for explosive bullets is just not there. I don't know if I forgot to do that or if I actually wanted those to ignore things like fire attributes or whatever, because, I mean, when they explode, they'll probably set you on fire anyway. I guess for what it's worth, recursive explosive bullets are probably a bad idea. Oh, these are the secondary... I'll call those bullet explosion fragments, because initially I thought these were supposed to be the bullets that actually did explode, but those are just the attribute-free fragments. Okay. Anything else? I think that's everything I saw when I was poking through. There might be some odd code and some random some random like entity event somewhere, but that should be good for now. And I think I'm going to end things off here. So, my name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games. If you want the code for this project, look for the GitHub repository down in the video description. Look for the 0.08 release. Next time, I am going to move on to Sprint 2 of this project management board. And I'm going to start working on user interface stuff. We'll see how much of that I can get done in the next video. I'm only going to count on getting the system up and running. The UI system for this game is going to look an awful lot like the UI system for Bombardier. And I might actually open that project and just like steal a bunch of code from it because I'm pretty happy with the way the user interface turned out in that game. After that, of course, I do want to draw important values on the screen, such as the play timer, as well as like the wave countdown, the wave number, the number of enemies remaining, score, player health in a way that isn't stupid, secondary attack status, maybe some statistics like total shots fired, total enemies murdered, total foe bullets on screen, something like that. Yeah, why not? Let's just add those all to the in progress board. And we'll see how much of them we can get through in the next video. Alright, that's good for now. I have a Patreon, so if you want to contribute towards these videos being made, look for links to that in all the usual places. Otherwise, I try to post about 2 game dev videos a week, one of these and one tutorial. I like to focus on the weirder parts of Game Maker, so if anything 3D is your interest, feel free to stick around. Otherwise, I hope you all found this interesting, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to DJ Gibbles, Edward Holt, Game Maker, Gunnar Clovis, Posho, Sindra Larson, Squarecrow, Then Nothing Happened, and Zenjamin for supporting these videos. If you want to see your name in the credits or hear yourself shouted out at the end, head on over to the Patreon page down in the video description to join the fun.